Hello, this is MrChabry. We're here looking at Tier Maker. It's been a while since we looked at Tier Maker. What specifically are we looking at? We're looking at the Hisuain Pokemon, the Pokemon that are now available now that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have been connected to Pokemon Home. And some of these Pokemon are going to be better than others, of course. But we're going to be looking at these and kind of ranking where we think they would probably fit in a competitive Pokemon environment. So, you can see my ranking. I've got Ubers that are going to instantly be up here because, of course, they're Uber Pokemon. They're going to be super powerful. If they're not fully evolved, they're going to fall down here unless I feel like they can do something in a certain metagame. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get an idea of some of these Hisuain Pokemon. You can see here just a quick rundown of each of them. We're going to be kind of looking at them individually and determining where they fit on our chart. The first one is going to be Growlithe. Growlithe, of course, is not fully evolved. So let's kind of look at its stats. You can see it's just not fully evolved. You could use it in Little Cup. However, I don't really know what Growlithe itself really does because it doesn't have a strategy, like a move set planned out. And if you're comparing the two, they're pretty much on par. Growlithe is going to be a little bit faster, but really, the Hisuain Growlithe has a little bit more attack. So, with that though, I don't think it's enough that it's actually going to make a difference in Little Cup. And this rock typing is a terrible typing. I mean, it gives you some nice resists if you look at it, but it makes you so weak to ground and water. I mean, look at that. Two of the most common types in competitive, you're going to be weak to. So yeah, rock really doesn't do much. It just adds normal flying resist. Poison, and it adds poison to things that, you know, flying is going to be nice, normal is going to be nice, but really fire type Growlithe is better. So I'm going to sit that here because it's not really going to be doing much in any other metagame. Next one's going to be Voltorb. So let's go ahead and get a look at Voltorb. So stats wise, if we compare the two, they're exactly the same stats. And there is usage for, you know, normal Voltorb in Little Cup. However, we look at Hisuain Voltorb. Right off the bat, this grass typing is going to give you a lot of weaknesses. I mean, if you look at that, of course, the normal Voltorb is only weak to ground, and the grass typing does fix that. But you're fixing one weakness to gain 4 more. So, really, are you really fixing anything at that point? This Voltorb is pretty much a downgrade from normal Voltorb. I mean, you can still bring it out and do certain things in Little Cup, but you'd want the base Voltorb for that instead. Next up is Qwilfish. And with Qwilfish, let's kind of compare their stats here before we go. They have the exact same stats, which is interesting. They're pretty much the same. The main difference is going to be this typing here. This has dark typing rather than water typing. Now let's kind of get a sense of the suggested sets. So we can get an idea of what this Pokemon could probably do in a competitive challenge. So we can see a defensive set. I mean, this right here, this Pokemon is an amazing Pokemon. Normal Quillfish is actually surprisingly really great. It's a great physical wall. You can have all of these support moves, or you can run it aggressively. It doesn't have the set here, but with the Swift Swim, if you're in the rain, you can actually do a lot of stuff with that. So here, pretty much can do similar things as it seems. Pretty much everything is the same. The only difference is you're trading out the water typing for dark typing. So, I mean, the fact that this is Quillfish. Quillfish is a great Pokemon normally. I will put it here because, you know, I mean, the normal Quillfish is in NU. I'll put it in C because you could probably run Eviolite on this thing. Yeah, and that's what the suggestion is. And that's going to help boost up your defense and special defense. Plus, Intimidate. So, Intimidate. This thing's going to be a bulky monster if you use it. So, I would put that in C. It's just does so many things. So, Sneasel. Let's kind of compare their stats. They're same stats. They have the same stats. So, the difference that you're going to see is going to be with these two, specifically that typing. You're trading out Dark Ice for Fighting Poison. Now, Fighting Poison is a nice typing. It gives you quite a few resist. You resist Dark, Fighting, Grass, Poison, and Rock. You're only weak to Flying, Ground, and Psychic. Now, if you compare that to base Sneasel, you're weak to a lot of things, and that's because of the Ice typing. The Ice typing is really holding down normal Sneasel. So changing out those, you're going to have this Pokemon, which is actually pretty decent looking at it. I mean, you can see this 95 attack. It is actually banned from PU, so you would use this in NU as well, and you can see that's what the suggested sets are for. Now, real quick, what Pokemon is the top of NU? Like, what are some of the Pokemon we can expect to see? If you play NU, you're obviously going to see you're probably going to see a Braviary. I think Electros would be likely. So, yeah, Toxicroak, the opposing poison fighting Pokemon. So let's kind of compare Toxicroak to this thing. This thing, you're going to run it with Eviolite. So, we'll go ahead and check a Swords Dance set versus Toxicroak. The NU Swords Dance. So we're kind of comparing their Swords Dance. And how much damage they would do. So, you've got an Eviolite. So looking at it, of course, Toxicroak's going to be doing a little bit more damage. It has a little bit more attack. But really, that is actually something interesting to point out. But say you come across, we saw Electros there. You know, Electros, you're going to have an easy time defeating that. You can see, unless your opponent goes for Dragon Tail, which is going to phase you out, if you're able to come in and get your Swords Dance, you're going to 100% knock it out with Gunk Shot or Close Combat. So, Electros is a very common Pokemon, I'm pretty sure, in NU. You know, because it's very good. What other NU sets would we see? We are compared Toxicroak. And of course, Toxicroak has better attack. Let's go ahead and pull Toxicroak back up. But other than that, you have better speed. So you're going to be outspeeding things. Like if you're going against Electros. See, Toxicroak has 85 speed, so there's a few things in you that you want to outspeed. And giving Sneasel, let's kind of look at these speed stats. So your Drift Blim is pretty on par. Bombardier, that's on par. I want us to look at Braviary. That's the main one. So Braviary. So you got, of course, you don't want to face down Braviary, but if you've got +2 with your Sneasel, a close combat will do the job. You compare that to Toxicroak. You know, you're obviously going to be, you're going to be outspeeding too. So, honestly, with these two Pokemon, Toxicroak and Sneasel, they're really close. Looking at some of the hard hitters, I feel like Toxicroak might outshine a little bit, but I could still see Sneasel doing a lot. Now, it goes down to that speed stat. We've got Basculin. I don't really know. Yeah, so we've got Red Stripe Basculin, Blue Stripe, and now we have access to White Stripe Basculin. Basculin is just Basculin. There's nothing different between all the Basculins. So if that one, if its friends are in PU, it's going to probably be there as well. So, is there any other differences? Last Respects. So Basculin can learn Last Respects. Can this Basculin learn Last Respects? And it does not look like it can, interestingly. So, yeah. Really, looking at this thing, it does have something over on, you know, base Basculin. So, the fact that this thing can learn Last Respects, which is a really great Ghost-type move, I feel like it would be up here. I think the fact that it is a Basculin, and you could see Basculin stats are pretty mid. I think, honestly, though, it can actually do more than what these two Pokemon can bring. So, Zorora, the Hisuain one, it's got higher special attack than its base form, whereas base form Zorora has higher attack. It's got a slightly less HP and higher speed. So, this would be a better form than this form. Really, this form, it's the only thing that it resists is, you know, that it's immune to is psychic types. So if you hide the fact that your Zora is a, you know, pretending to be a fighting type or poison type, this one could do a lot. But really, this one is much better. It's immune to fighting, ghost, and normal. 3 types. 3 very common types that you would see. And you can have this thing pretend that it's a normal type Pokemon. They could, you know, someone would go for a fighting type move trying to hit it. You can have it pretend it's a ghost type Pokemon and it's immune. So really, this one gives you a lot more to play with, and it's got better stat distribution. So it's way better than base. And of course, they've got a set for base Zorora. But this one is way better. It has higher special attack. And that's what you would rather have anyway. It has higher speed, so you can get a jump on different things. Of course, it would be in lower tier. Little Cup would use this thing. I'd put it up here because I think, honestly, I mean, this thing is in UU itself. And we'll look at this one a little bit more in a little bit. But I think in the lower tiers, you could do some surprising things with this. Now, of course, its stats are pretty low. But I think in PU or something like that, it could probably do a lot there. So that is actually a really good Pokemon. Alright, and then now we're going to kind of compare Sliggoo to Hisuian Sliggoo. It's got slightly less HP It has higher defense and lower speed. Okay. So, with this one, before we move forward, let's kind of look. Gudra is an OU, so in lower tiers, would this thing be useful? I feel like, I mean, you could get a little bit use. I mean, it's got sets for NU, but I don't really know if that special attack is really something that's going to help you out in the long run. Now, I mean, if we go back and look at NU teams, and I'll pull it up on a separate link, a separate tab, so we can kind of look back and forth easier. If we kind of look, this thing has 113 special defense. Who is our most likely common special attacker here? We got Rotom, who would probably do a lot. Vaporeon is pretty good. Let's say you're facing down a Vaporeon, because that thing has really good special attack. Let's say you have your Sliggoo. Let's say a Vaporeon kind of shows up at your door. Now, you're easily going to be able to wall this thing. Now, this set, it's suggesting Curse. So you can get an attack boost and actually get quite a bit of boost up and do some work. And this Vaporeon's not really doing much to you. Now, let's kind of look and decide. Let's see if there's like a good Pokemon that has access to ground type moves. A special attacker with ground type moves. I don't really think there's that many ground type like special attackers here. Let's kind of look down here. All right, so Camerupt. Camerupt I know has ground type moves. Let's say you're facing down a Camerupt. It has Earth Power. You could take an Earth Power. Now, it's not going to be the best, but let's move to our all-out attacker, because this is what you're more than likely going to see. You can see Acid Spray here, which is nice too. Let's go back here. So, Acid Spray will lower the special defense of your opponent. So if you got one Acid Spray, a Draco Meteor will be doing the job. More than likely. But other than that, you can see that you can still do quite a bit of damage. This Earth Power, you're going to be able to survive one Earth Power. So, really, even though, you know, you're weak to this Earth Power from a Camerupt with 105 special attack, you're still going to be able to survive, take a hit, and hit back. And it would be down to a speed tie. So I think this thing could do work. It's obviously down here. Obviously down here. Oh, now we're looking at some of these crazy Uber Pokemon. So, the Alga Origin. Before we do that, let's kind of get a sense of what differences they have between the two. So, going from Dialga to Dialga Origin, you're trading out attack for special defense. So really, Dialga Origin is going to be more of a specially defensive version of Dialga with less attack. And you've got some, I mean, that's honestly really great stats. You can run Assault Vest, which is what some people's put down here for it. This is actually a different tier. This is the Balance Hackmon, so this would not be, you will not run this set here at all. So I'm actually confused why that's the only sets that's suggested. But if we look at, if we even look back to Sword and Shield, what did Dialga usually do back then? Well, it was mostly a special attacker. So you don't even need this attack stat. I mean, you can look here and see that there's no physical attack on there. So let's go back to Sun and Moon. Is there a physical attack set that was used often? Not really. People didn't really use its physical attack. X and Y, special attack, especially defensive, which of course the new form is going to have way better special defense anyway. Let's go back to black and white. What set? Well, you've got your special attack. Of course, you've got Dragon Tail, but you're only using that to phase things out, not actually to put out damage. Special attacker. You've got your mixed attacker here way back in black and white, but you're running bulk up to get, you know, better damage output with that. And the only move you're running is either Outrage or Brick Break on that set. So really, you're not using this thing for this. You can see even the sets that suggest that, they're not really doing much with its physical attack. So honestly, this would be a better set in my opinion because you've got more bulk. You don't have any stats wasted here. You've got it put here, which would serve you better. And they're the same speed and everything else. So really, this is, in my opinion, the stronger of the two. So I would, of course, put this up here. It's the stronger of the two. Now, of course, we could get a sense of the Uber tier. What Pokemon do we see that would likely, you know, face down a Dialga and try to do a lot of damage? Groudon, but that's going to be a physical attacker. And we want to kind of look at special attacks. What would benefit? Let's actually look at Shiyu or Calyrex Shadow. That thing is running around rampant. So, let's go ahead and type in our Dialga. Of course, it's suggesting the Pac-Mon set, but we're going to kind of do our own set. Do a bulky Assault Vest set. How about that? So this is going to be everyone boost up special defense. Yeah, there we go. And I believe it's got pressure. That's probably what you would mostly see on this thing. So I'm not even worried about that right now. I'm going to just put in the Assault Vest. Alright. So that's our Dialga origin. We can just put on Roar of Time. I know it has that. Flash Cannon. We can also put Draco Meteor. And let's just throw in, I know it has Thunderbolt. We'll just throw in Thunderbolt. Yeah, so we'll do that. And what other moves would you run on the base form? Does it even get Thunder? Yeah, it does get Thunderbolt. And it does have Flamethrower too, I believe, right? Yep, Flamethrower. Alright, so we'll kind of move stuff around. Draco. Yeah, you'd probably run Draco over Roar of Time, but just for this situation, we'll set it up like that. And then Shiyu. Alright. So, of course, you've got this Beads of Ruin ability, which is going to lower the special defense anyway. But, even with that, you're going to still be able to live an Overheat, which is just insane coming off this thing. 135 special attack. This Dialga is going to be able to live that. Now, if we... Let's see here. If we even looked at, you know, oh, you didn't have that. See, you can see that this one ability, Beads of Ruin, does a lot. So, you can see about max 70% damage. So, you're going to still be able to live that. Of course, this thing is faster, so, you know, you don't really want to face that. But you've got Roar Time, which could one-shot. So, really, really good. We'll even switch it to Draco, since that's what you're more likely going to see. It's not going to quite take it out. But right now, we're kind of just looking at the bulky side of this thing, where the Assault Vest is just seeing how bulky it is, because that's really the difference between this and normal Dialga. Now, normal Dialga, Overheat is just going to run through it. Look at that. Now, of course, this is also a choice spec set, so this will also do the job. But you're not going to be able to live till that point. So, I mean, we could even put choice specs on this thing. And, you know, put 252 here. And put back the calm. And see, we still live. We still live. And at this point, Draco will do the job. So really, the origin form is going to be better than the normal form. Now, if we look at Palkia, really the difference here is that your attack is being reduced and your speed is being increased. Now, this is actually also a really good Pokemon. You see, with base Palkia, you could run a mix set, but really you're often just using special attack as well. So the fact that now, oh, we've got this crazy, insane speed stat is just... And we actually have an analysis that actually runs with its ability. So yeah, this is actually going to be a great Pokemon as well, because you've got all these special attacks that you can make work for you, and you've got 120 speed. I do actually think you need this item, so if we kind of glance back at the well, we've already got this here, so even if we Adamant Globe is what it's, or Adamant Crystal, yeah, I mean, you're still, yeah, so our analysis here still works even with the crystal in hand, because, you know, of that. But here, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. You're trading out attack, which you don't need, for speed, and speed is really great. Let's look at that. 120 speed. You're outspeeding. You're on par with Arceus. You're not outspeeding this crazy thing, but you're outspeeding Shiyu now. You're outspeeding Espathra, which I don't know what that really does in this tier. You're outspeeding Lando, which is important. That thing is very, very fast. So yeah, there's still a lot of things that's going to outspeed you. And that's just the nature of Ubers. There's a lot of fast Pokemon. But at least you're not being outsped by things like Lando. And plus, you know, this is just... With that Lustrous Orb, you're getting a boost on your Dragon and Water attacks. Now, Specs would be better, but I do think that this is pretty nice. So these Pokemon, competitively, I still think they're improvements on their base form, because you don't really need that attack stat. So now we're kind of looking at the Pokemon that are not, you know, unevolved, and that are not Ubers. These are kind of the bread and potatoes of this analysis here. And the first one we're going to look at is Arcanine. So before we look specifically at it, let's look at some of the stat differences. You've got increased attack, decreased special attack, and decreased speed. Now this thing is already an OU because, you know, right now, it's brand new. People are trying it out. I do feel like this thing will eventually fall. Because, I mean, we've got base Arcanine and RU, and there's no way that this thing's going to be up higher. Whereas it's slower. You don't have any of that, you know, ability of doing mixed things as much as you can here. Which, honestly, this is more of a utility mon anyway. But you're decreasing your speed, and you're adding on rock typing. Now, you're very weak to ground and water, which, like we saw before, is very, very common. So, this thing is an OU now, but I don't think it stays there. I think this thing will drop down to RU. I'll just stick it there, though. Because, I mean, it does have some things it can do. Honestly, thinking about these might make sense more. I'll kind of move things around as we go on. But yeah, it's actually a decrease, I feel. A decrease from base Arcanine. So, let's kind of look at Electrode. So, Electrode, stats-wise, exactly the same stats. This thing is also a downgrade. I mean, right now it's an OU, but it's not going to stay there. Not staying there at all. This thing, its base form is actually, if I remember, in PU. Yep, PU. So this thing is as we said before, Voltorb is a downgrade. This thing's also a downgrade. The only thing is you have access to, some grass-type moves, like Energy Ball. Really, that's the only thing you would run. That's grass-type. Now, you do have Chloroblast, which is the equivalent of Explosion, I believe. The grass-type version of Explosion. Or similar to it, more like that Mind Blown attack from, I can't even think of it, that Ultra Beast. But you can see that, really, you're not going to use this thing that much. And it's weak to so many things. Whereas, base Voltorb, you're just weak to ground. And you're mostly kind of there for support. So, I mean, you could run this as support, but you're just so weak to so many things now, whereas you originally weren't. So I'm going to put this actually down here. I think this is actually more of a downgrade than the Arcanine. So at least Arcanine still has Intimidate. You could still do some things, but this is way, way down here. Alright, so my Typhlosion. Like I said, Typhlosion's always been my favorite Pokemon. What things have changed from Typhlosion to Hisuian Typhlosion? Well, we've got a decrease in HP, which really 78 HP is not much at all. So it's not really a big downgrade. The attack is the same, defense is the same. We get a nice boost in special attack, which is much, much needed. We also get a decrease in speed, which, I mean, that does hurt. But most of the time, you're going to see this thing probably with a Choice Scarf. So it's going to still hurt some of the, higher-end Pokemon that you would be able to outspeed with normal Typhlosion. But this thing still has... It has more of a punch. Plus, you have this Ghost typing, which is great. So Ghost typing, you are weak to so many things, though. Whereas with the base Typhlosion, you're weak to ground, rock, and water. But, you also, with this Typhlosion, resist a few things that you used to not resist. And really, that is only Poison type. So you're adding on, one resist. You're also, though, adding on 2 immunities, which Typhlosion, if you had Flash Fire, you're only immune to fire. This one, you've got normal and fighting types that you're immune to. So, typing-wise, I really love adding this Ghost type. Because that gives you so many things that you have Stab on now that you can play around with. Typhlosion, if we look at... There's not really a set that is suggested for Typhlosion, but you can see way back here, it was an NU at one time. It was an NU at one time, but you can see it's mostly, Eruption, Flamethrower, or Fire Blast, and then coverage options. Now, what you can do is, your Eruption, which of course is going to be your main go-to, Flamethrower or Fire Blast, but you can also bring a Ghost-type move. That gives you such great coverage. You could go with Shadow Ball or Infernal Parade. Infernal Parade gives you a 30% chance to burn, and if the target is already status, you get 2 times the power. It's 120 damage. So this thing is just so great. It's an improvement on Typhlosion. Now this 95 speed is kind of an issue. Just kind of get a sense of our speed stats in OU. So 95, you're naturally going to be outsped by a lot of things. What's something that we're going to probably... Dragapult, of course, you're going to always be outsped by that thing. Now, if we take a look at Typhlosion and Dragapult, so if we have the Choice Scarf Typhlosion, you're going to be able to outspeed. Now, Typhlosion also has access to Shadow Ball, which it did not have at one time. So you're not going to quite be able to take it out, but you're going to be able to do damage before it takes you out. Now, if we type in the Hisuain Typhlosion, then we give it a Choice Scarf. Let's see. Let's go with Timid. And we give it Shadow Ball, as you're going to enjoy that stab. You have a chance to one-shot it, and you're still going to be quicker. Still going to be faster. Now that is actually a great thing. You're faster still, but you have stab, and that's going to give you some better outcomes when it comes to that specific Pokemon. Let's go up a little bit in speed. So we can outspeed with a Choice Scarf something with 142 speed, which is actually really good. That is one of the fastest Pokemon in this tier. Is there anything faster than that you would normally see? Alright, so yeah, you outspeed the fastest thing currently in the tier, which is great. That is actually really good. Now let's kind of compare. I do know that Calyrex Shadow is fast. 150. Let's kind of see. I mean, you're not going to see this in OU, but if you're battling just, you know, on cart, random battles, someone might bring this, and you still outspeed, and you one-shot. Versus if you just bring Typhlosion, the normal Typhlosion with a Scarf, and Shadow Ball, you don't quite one-shot every time. So that being said, this thing is, honestly, a huge improvement. That special attack is really needed. And, you know, the drop in speed isn't that bad. So I would put this is like a huge improvement. And it's faster than so many things in OU right now. So let's kind of get a sense of high special defense mons here that might try to wall it. Cresselia. That's already weak. Let's find something that's more neutral. We'll kind of get a sense of Typhlosion's ability there. I see, Alright, we're going to go full-on Toxapex. See how much damage we could do. So yeah, normal Typhlosion Shadow Ball does about 21%. But this Typhlosion will do about... We'll go ahead and put Shadow Ball as well. About 33%. So you're still not breaking through the Toxapex, but you're kind of seeing that you're able to do a little bit more damage. We'll see. What about Slowking? Can you one-shot a Slowking? You do. It's possibly a 2-hit KO on Slowking, which, you know, isn't the greatest, but it's way better than what you're facing with, you know, normal Typhlosion, where oh, that's because it's choice specs. I was looking at a Scarf, which is way better than, you know, a normal Typhlosion. So I like this one up here. I mean, in OU, I don't think it'll stay in OU. But I honestly think it'll be higher than Typhlosion normally is, so I'm going to put that there. I think that's a good spot for it. Now, Samurott. Let's look at the stat changes for this thing. We have lowered HP, but higher attack. We have lower defense, lower special attack, lower special defense, but higher speed. Honestly, the problem with normal Samurott is that it doesn't do one thing that great. Now with Hisuain Samurott, you have more an emphasis in attack and speed, so you can be a little bit faster. Samurott is too slow. It has higher special attack, which is nice, but it's too slow to make to do a lot with that. Hisuain Samurott is faster, and you have the sharpness ability. So slicing moves have higher power, which is nice. And this move here, Ceaseless Edge, is actually really great because it lets you set up spikes while doing damage. So it's like spikes, but actually better. Plus you have moves like Aqua Cutter, Razor Shell, Sacred Sword. These moves are boosted by sharpness because they're slicing moves. So you're doing a lot of good damage. So this move, which is normally 65, well now it's, if you multiply that by 1.5, you're going to have over 90 base power, which is great. Aqua Cutter, if you do the same thing with that, well now you have 105 attack base power, which is really good. These are like really great moves to have. Don't even get me started on Sacred Sword. You're going to add 45 to 90, and that's going to give you just a crazy amount of an attack for this thing. So, yeah. This thing is actually a great Pokemon. Sacred Sword becomes 135. I mean, 135, you're thinking of, you know, Fire Blast, even stronger than Fire Blast and Hydro Pump. This thing can do it. Of course, it don't have stab on that, but it's still great. And, you know, this dark typing, it gives you some more stab. Now, you are weak to a lot of things, and that is kind of an issue. Because, you know, before you're just weak to electric and grass. Now you add bug, fairy, fighting to that. But you do resist more things, which are nice. And you are immune to psychic. But I think, honestly, this is being an upgrade, but it's not as big as an upgrade as Typhlosion. I would put it here in B. And honestly, thinking about Electrode is just subpar. I'm going to drop that down to D, thinking about it. This thing could probably do more than Electrode. I'd put that there. I still want Quillfish here, because Quillfish can do a lot. The stat on this isn't that great, and, you know, Electrode is just Electrode. Let's go ahead and... Not Petalil, it's Lilligant. Let's kind of look at the difference in stat distribution. While you're trading out some of your special attack for Lilligant, you're also gaining speed. And you're gaining that fighting type. So really interesting Pokemon. Plus you have this move called Victory Dance, raising your attack, defense, and speed. It's basically the opposite end of Quiver Dance. Quiver Dance is going to boost your special side. This is going to boost your physical side. This thing is just crazy with that. Now, you know, it doesn't have much survivability, of course. But really, you know, Leaf Blade, Close Combat, and even Ice Spinner for coverage, you're going to be doing a lot of things. Now, let's kind of look at some of these moves. Trailblaze is actually really good too, but you've got Victory Dance. You don't need Trailblaze. So I think this Lilligant is actually really good. You know, we see Monotype here, but, you know, you can... Leaf Blade will one-shot Slowking. Let's look at Toxapex. The Toxapex. You know? You might be looking, oh, you're not going to be doing much because this thing is so bulky. Well, you get your victory dance up. We've got 1 in defense and speed. And the Leaf Blade 2 hits KOs this thing. So you're doing a lot of damage right there. So yeah, I think this thing is actually really good. It's a great grass fighting type. Of course, grass, you're going to be weak to quite a few things. But surprisingly, this fighting type gives you a lot of resistances, which are really, really nice. So, yeah, I would say this thing is up here. It's great. It does a lot of good things. I think it is more of an improvement over Petalil than, you know, the Typhlosion was. Because Petalil doesn't really do much competitively. But this one, if you get that Victory Dance up, doing a lot. Now, Lilligant does have Quiver Dance. But you can see, you know, it's slow, and that hurts it. Whereas this thing has got decent speed. I think this one... And you've got Chlorophyll. Haven't even looked at that. Yeah, Chlorophyll on this thing, you're outspeeding everything. You just need to get that Victory Dance up, get the sun out, and you're just smacking everything left and right. Alright, so now we're looking at Zoroark. And as I said before, you know, for Zora, it was an improvement. For Zoroark, I think it's going to be even more of an improvement. Because you've got, you know, better stats anyway. Now, this thing is currently in UU, but you can see people's been using it in OU. I think this thing is really good. At 125 special attack, you get a nice surprise when you come out here with this thing and your opponent doesn't know how to touch it. Because is that actually the Pokemon that it's meant to be, or is it not? And you have a chance with Bitter Malice to lower the opponent's attack as well. I like this thing. I think this thing is really great. Normal Ghost is a great typing. This thing is up here. On par with these fellows. Let's go ahead and look at Braviary. So what you've traded out, you've got increased HP, but you've lowered your attack, lowered your defense. You've got higher special attack, but you've lowered your special defense and your speed. So this thing's more offensive. I wouldn't even say that because, you know, Braviary has way higher attack and, you know, the speed. This is more trying to be more of a tank, but you're lowering your defenses as well. So, I mean, that Psychic typing is nice. You've traded out normal for Psychic. That's pretty cool. It gives you some nice, you know, stab. Plus, this thing's signature move, Esper Wing, you get a boost in speed. And that's actually a really good move. Not going to lie. But you've lowered everything else. Now, let's kind of compare Braviary and Hisuain Braviary. So we're going to just dump everything into that. And then kind of, for the benefit of the doubt, throw the rest there. Go ahead and go with Modest and item. What item? Let's just go with, well, you want to, yeah, we'll go with choice specs. Actually, you'd probably, I think heavy duty boots would actually be more what you would want. So you can see here, let's throw Esper Wing on this thing. And probably Hurricane. I'd probably run Hurricane on this thing. Kind of look at the moves. I mean, Hurricane is just thrown there for... I mean, what other flying type moves does it have that you would want? I mean, Hurricane's really... It's only special flying move, isn't it? You wouldn't want to run Air Cutter. Could run Air Slash, but I don't think that would help you out much. You'd probably put D-Gleam for coverage. Yeah, you'd probably run Dazzling Gleam on this thing. So we'll just throw air / Dazzling Gleam. So let's kind of compare these two. So Brave Bird, you're doing more damage. But after you went for this first Esper Wing, you've done about half damage and you've boosted your attack. Your speed, rather. You're still being outsped. You're still being outsped. So really this... I mean... They're basically totally different Pokemon. It's not really an improvement, not really a downgrade. It's just a totally different Pokemon. And I honestly don't think... that it's that great. I mean... I'll stick it here. B tier. I mean, the fact that this thing got up here is great, but really, you know, it could do work, but it's just so different. So now we're going to look at Avalugg. Now, Avalugg's one of these Pokemon that's actually pretty interesting. Right now, it's on OU. I don't think it will stay there. You've increased its attack. Decrease special attack, which it didn't need anyway. You decreased its special defense, and you've increased speed, but you've only increased it to 38, so you're not fast. You're also... You have the Strong Jaw ability, which is actually really good for this thing. Because, you know, most of its moves... You've got Crunch. You've got... Is that really it? You only have Crunch? You should have Ice Fang. Yeah, you could run Ice Fang. But the main move that this thing has, like its signature move, is Mountain Gale. But yeah, really not a lot there. Now, you know, let's look at base Avalugg is currently in RU, and it still has that great defense. You still have that great defense. You just have slightly more attack. Which isn't really going to help you out much if you think about it. Because, you know, you're still really slow. If you get hit on the special side, you're donezo. And let's kind of look at what are you weak to as Avalugg. Well, you're weak to fighting, fire, rock, and steel. Got that four things. What about Hisuain Avalugg? Well, you're weak to grass, ground, rock, water, and you're very weak to fighting and steel. Now, you do have some more resistances, which you didn't have before. But really, you've added on, you're weak to things that are super, super common. And you're running as a defensive Pokemon. This rock typing is not good for you. This is honestly, I mean, Avalugg's not that great, but this is honestly a downgrade. Now, is it as bad as a downgrade as Electrode? I would say it's on par. It's just not that good. Rock typing, it is not good at all. It's gonna get smacked around. Let's kind of put that in perspective. We've got Avalugg, and let's just throw in Machamp. Say you're fighting a Machamp. Well, you're going down, even if you've got 252 in these stats. That's a one-shot. You're not living that at all. Now, you know, base Avalugg, you can actually survive that. But yeah, this thing is a downgrade. Now we're looking at Goodra. Hisuain Goodra. Stats-wise, you've boosted your defense, you've lowered your HP, and you're slower. And you have the steel typing. Now, if we look at it, you know, Goodra is currently in UBL. It's banned from NU. You can't really... You have to be in RU or above to use this thing. This thing currently is on OU, but it might go down. But this thing is actually really good really good defensive Pokemon. That Steel typing, you are... Look at all that resistances. You're only weak to fighting and ground. Now, you know, of course, you're with this, you're weak to 4, and you're weak to 3, and you resist 4. But, I mean, look at that. Just adding Steel typing. You're immune, resist, or strongly resist almost everything. Steel typing is one of the best typings out there. And, you know, you've got a boost in your defense, which is nice. Goodra's not fast, really. It's only 80. So, you don't really need that. This thing is really great. I think this is honestly an improvement. Because, you know, Goodra... I mean, we'll look back at previous gen. Goodra, you could run as a wall breaker, but it's not really that fast. It's not super, super fast to be, you know, a great... You know, to outspeed a lot of things. Of course, you know, with 80 speed, you're outspeeding more than this thing. But this could also be a pretty nice wall breaker. This could be bulky. You could run it with, you know, shell armor. No crits. Sap Sipper come in and get boosted by grass-type moves. Gooey, slow down the opponent. So, yeah, this thing is actually really nice. I love that typing. I'm going to put this up here. I think it could do well as a defensive mon. I think that's up here. Yeah, that would work good there. Alright, Decidueye. So, what stats have we changed around? You've got increased HP, increased attack, increased defense, lower special attack, lower special defense, and lower speed. Really, 70 speed. The thing with Decidueye, you're not outspeeding a lot anyway. But a big thing is now you have the fighting type. Not only that, you have Scrappy. One of the best abilities for fighting type or normal type Pokemon, because now you can hit ghost type Pokemon. And they've actually improved Scrappy because now you're immune to Intimidate. If we even look back to the previous gen, well, yeah, Scrappy. If we look back to the previous gen for, you know, in previous gens, it's just, oh, now you can hit normal and fighting type Pokemon, or you can hit ghost types with these moves. Sword and Shield, now you're immune to Intimidate. So, yeah, you're not going to have to worry about being intimidated, and you come in and do a lot of damage. You can go with a bulk up set, but most people are going to want to run, where's it at? Triple arrows. So, I mean, look at this. It has high crit chance. It can lower defense and flinch the opponent. So, wow, that is a great move. Now, you are weak to a few things, but you resist a few things. I think this, I mean, if we even look at this, I mean, Ghost type is great. But, you know, having a fighting type move that can do all of those things, I'd be okay to put this up here. And honestly, I would put this down here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I feel like, because these do have slight improvements. These, I feel like this is not good enough to be an upgrade, not good enough, not bad enough to be a downgrade. This feels like a totally different Pokemon. These are, you know, or at least the fully evolved Pokemon down here are downgrades. Now the unevolved Pokemon, upgrades. Kind of how I'm doing this, you know, not fully evolved. That are upgrades, they get to go up from this rank. Down here is the center for, you know, the fully evolved Pokemon. Up here, they're Ubers. But I think this thing, yeah, it does a lot of good work. Alright, Weirdeer. Now, the thing about Weirdeer is... how do you spell it? There we go. It's not different. It's an evolved form of a previous Pokemon. Now, this thing, you know, look at that. It's terrible stats. This thing isn't the greatest. There's no way it's staying in OU. But it is an upgrade. Just, it doesn't do that much. I mean, it's good that it has psychic typing. You've got stab with psychic. You also have this move, which is pretty cool, the Psy Shield Bash. Raises your defense by 1, but you're already got low defense. There's other Pokemon you would rather use than this. Your speed is really low. Just kind of mid. Just stick it there, because I don't really see it doing much. And what it tried to improve, it didn't improve enough from Stantler. Now we got Cleavor. Cleaver is kind of like a, you know, you've got Scyther. And the interesting thing is these Pokemon all have the same total base stat, if I'm correct. And they almost feel like different Pokemon. Scizor is your fast physical hitter. Scyther, fast physical hit. Scizor is your bulky physical attacker. Cleaver is also a bulky physical attacker. Now, Scizor has better bulk, but this thing has higher attack and slightly higher speed. So it's like, which way do you go? Really, if you want something a little bit faster, go with Cleavor. Now, stats-wise, this rock typing isn't the best, but, you know, it doesn't hurt as bad as some of the other Pokemon we've looked at that gained rock typing. And this move here, Stone Axe, this is actually a really good move. It sets up Stealth Rocks. That's really good. Plus, you've got Sharpness. So we've seen Sharpness before, so you're going to get a boost. It's 1.5, correct? Yep. So you're going to get a boost on the Stone Axe. You're going to do a lot more damage. You've got Night Slash, and I believe Aerial Ace is a slashing move, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, you get a boost off those. Or you could run a Choice Scarf set, which actually could be pretty decent. I mean, it's not going to outspeed everything, but that would help out. And, you know, help out on being able to hit things, because this thing can hit things really hard. Plus, it's always good to have a move that can set up hazards. So, Cleaver, I think this thing's up here. I think it's up here. It's a great Pokemon. It does so much. Sneasler. So, like I said, this is... if we want to, we could compare this to Weavile, really. That's probably the best base of comparison. So, I mean, you've got increased attack, but decreased speed. And, you know, other stats have been moved around, but those are so slight, I don't know if they would actually matter. And you do have the same thing of, you know, eliminating Dark and Ice for fighting Poison. Like, we've already said this is a better typing. You've got Unburden now, which is really good. Oh, this thing is going to be so fast. This thing is so fast. But yeah, Unburden Sweeper. You can boost your defense or your special defense. Probably want to go with your special defense, because your defense is so low already. But yeah, you could do a lot. Plus, you have this Dire Claw move, which, if that's true, if that's still how it works, 50% chance to sleep, poison, or paralyze the target. That is OP. You can use Dire Claw and put something to sleep. This, oh my gosh. I didn't realize how crazy insane this thing is. Plus, if you're running Unburden, Acrobatics gives a boost. You can Swords Dance. Close Combat will just knock things down. I want to see how this thing is in the face of the Toxapex. Alright, oh, that's already got a set. So, you know, normally you're not doing much, but hey, you've got a +2 now. You can 3-hit KO this Toxapex. Plus, you've got your special defense boost from, you know, trying to activate your Unburden. So, yeah, do a lot. This should be healthy. Plus, let's see here. If this thing is paralyzed, you know, or even put to sleep, I mean, you're just giving yourself more Swords Dance that you can get up. You get +4. Now it's a 50, you know, 50% chance, over 50% chance. Say you max out your attack. Well, I mean, you're not going to one-shot this thing, but you're doing a lot of damage. And once you're able to get rid of this thing, what's going to be able to come out and stop you? I mean, say Dodonzo comes out. Oh man, Dodonzo is super, super bulky. Well, anyway, you can still put that thing to sleep. So, really, this thing can do a lot. I mean, we're throwing him against the highest, the bulkiest, you know, Pokemon in the OU tier. But I mean, even if you compare it to Weavile, there's no comparison. It can just so destroy Weavile. Yeah, I think this goes up here. Dire Hit, I believe, honestly, this is our first S tier. You have a 50% chance of putting things to sleep, poisoning, or paralyzing the target. That, plus it's fast, has really great attack. It's a glass cannon, of course, but if you are able to put things to sleep, you can just start setting up Swords Dances. How are they going to stop you? Now, this Pokemon is interesting because we've got two of them, two forms of the same Pokemon to look at. We have the Incarnate form and the Therian form of Enamorus, which is the fourth Pokemon added to the Unova trio. And, I mean, this is a really cool Pokemon. We'll look at the Incarnate form first. You've got a special attacker and an attacker, kind of mixed here. You also have high speed. So yeah, this thing is just like any other of the Incarnate forms of the genies. There is just really great. Of course, you know, some of them are banned into Ubers because they're so good, but this one, honestly, it could end up in Ubers. I'm not sure. It's just really good. Now, I do have over here where I've been looking at some of the Pokemon that are kind of expected to be looked at that might end up in Ubers. And, of course, Sneasler is here. Sneasler is here because of Dire Claw. But if we kind of look up, was Enamorus ever on the radar? And you kind of see other Pokemon that have already been brought into Ubers. But yeah, Enamorus isn't on the list yet. So that's interesting. So yeah, it's probably going to stay in OU then. Well, the set that is... Oh, you have Contrary too. You have Contrary. You can go full-on physical with Superpower Play Rough, Zen Headbutt. And it has Healing Wish. So you can heal up Pokemon if you feel like this thing is getting too low on health. So, yeah. A really great Pokemon. I would put this form up here probably, because it does a lot. Now, I don't know if I want to put it in S tier because it's got so many weaknesses. It has so many of these weaknesses. I don't know if I want to do that. But I think it is really good. Now, the Therian form, I've actually heard a lot of people talking about this one. Now, this one here is a more bulky version, whereas, you know, you have your offensive one. This is full-on defensive. It's a tank. in the best definition of a tank. You can run Iron Defense on this thing, Draining Kiss. You got high special attack, so you can heal yourself up. Calm Mind. Just set up your defenses and your attack. You've got Earth Power for coverage. This thing is just so strong. It does so much. Now, you still have to watch out for, you know, Steel types. And if you're running Earth Power, that helps you out on that front. But, yeah, this is just really bulky. It does a lot. You've got Overcoat, so you don't have to worry about Spore or Sandstorm or Powder moves. So, honestly, I think this thing would be really good in VGC because of that ability Overcoat. You can come out, set up, be super, super bulky, start healing yourself up. Yeah, Calm Mind, Iron Defense, Earth Power for coverage. Now, you will want to make sure you're not facing something that's like flying plus a type that resists fairy. But really, there's not that many. Corviknight's the only one that comes to mind. So this thing is really great. I'm going to put this one in S tier. I think that one goes up there. Now, Overquill. Now, kind of like what we said before, this is an evolution to a Pokemon that previously had no evolution. So we're kind of just basing it off its own merits. And, I mean, it's got good attack, but really that stats, it's not going to stay in OU. Now, you could run a Swift Swim set, which would be nice, and it is like a better version of, you know, Quillfish. But that's basically it. Now, we already put Quillfish pretty high because, you know, for a not fully evolved Pokemon, it's going to be doing a lot. And, you know, base Quillfish is up pretty high. But, I mean, I think this thing would probably be here. Because, you know, if you're able to successfully set up Rain, I mean, you might not have Stab on water moves, but the Rain is going to boost those water moves that you run with. Plus, you have Stab on Dark and Poison type moves. Plus, you have Bar Barrage, which is a really strong move. And I should have looked at this before because this is, you can poison and it does 2 times damage if the opponent's already poisoned. So 120 damage move. So this thing, it's super strong. It can do a lot, but its defenses are so middling that I don't know if I could put it up here. Maybe right there. I don't know. I'll put it up here. It's the best of the B tier. Because that Bar Barrage does a lot of damage, especially if the opponent is poisoned. And same thing with this, but, you know, I can't really put it above those. Bascu Legion. Is there any difference in these forms of Bascu Legion? Oh, there really is. Okay. So I'm not that familiar with Bascu Legion because I've never really used the Pokemon. But looking at this, the red one has higher attack, but the white one has higher special attack. Now, there's a specific move I know. Oh, you can Choice Band it. Where is it? Last Respects. Physical move. The red one's better than. I mean, you do have higher attack than this thing has special attack. I mean, this is pretty cool. You know, gives you a decently good HP. I mean, defenses aren't great, but with Swift Swim, you're going to be fast. You can hit hard. This one is the better one. Way better. Plus, I don't know why they don't have it, but, you know, Last Respects. That move, 50 more power for each party member is fainted. This thing is going to be crazy. So, honestly, this one's decent. I mean, it's not the best. I'd feel fine putting it there. This one's the better of the two. Now, where shall I put that? Because its defense stats are still pretty bad. Really, you're relying on your Choice Band for that, and you need your Swift Swim to boost that. I think I'm okay with putting it up here. I don't know if I could put it up here. I'm fine putting it there. So yeah, you can kind of see how this is coming out. Now, the last Pokemon that we're going to look at is Ursaluna. Now, I mean, we could compare this to Ursaring if we would like. But I mean, Ursaring, you can see here, it's pretty terrible stats. I mean, it's got good attack, but that's it. Ursaluna, you lose some of your speed, and you lose some of your special attack. But other than that, you have really good attack. You get a little bit more in attack. So the good attack is now great, wonderful attack. Defense, boosted. HP, boosted as well. Plus you have guts. You get burnt. That's Actimon, so don't worry about this down here. It doesn't tell us the actual stats and stuff. But you've got guts. You've got bulletproof. You don't have to worry about bullet moves like you know, well, of course you don't have to worry about Shadow Ball, but like Energy Ball. It's not going to do any damage to you. So yeah, I think Ursaluna with guts, great. Let's actually kind of get a sense of so let's kind of get a sense of Ursaluna, what you can do with Ursaluna. Oh, you've already got a choice band set in. Oh, but that's the hacked mons, because yeah, that's the same exact set as this one. So we'll just move some stuff around, because this, yeah, I don't, why would you even do this at all? So let's go ahead and attack and defense. We've got guts, so let's go ahead and put guts in. Choice band, we could still have choice band. Population bomb, we'll change that to facade. We'll keep, let's do earthquake. I know you don't have extreme speed. What moves do you have? You have close combat, nice. You have some really good moves. Hammer arm. You got play rough. Ooh. You have Shadow Claw, give you some ghost type damage on. Ooh, you have Trailblaze too. Alright, let's go ahead and just stick these are really good moves. A lot of these are like really good. You have Cross Chop. Let's just throw Cross Chop on this thing. Go all out. Alright, there we go. We've got Facade. Now let's face the Pecs. Well, with Earthquake, we're already one-shotting that thing. Let's say we switch in and... oh, you've burnt us. Even Facade is one-shotting. Let's go with... let's say, oh, someone's wanting to bring a bulky Corviknight. Well, Facade's going to two-hit KO that thing after you're burnt. And that's if you're choice banded. Let's say, oh, you brought a Flame Orb to access that. Well, it's going to be a 3-hit KO. That's not including Cross Chop doing some damage. Now, you do have Fire Punch as well. Let's kind of get a sense. Fire Punch. Well, for coverage, you got Fire Punch. You're going to more than likely 2-hit KO that thing. So, yeah, this is a really good Pokemon. It's got really good stats. You can do a lot. What is your... do you have a signature move? Because... oh, you've got Belly Drum. Oh, that changes things. Okay, so you get a Belly Drum up. Do you even need burnt? You don't even need to be burnt to Fire Punch this thing into oblivion. Toxapex thinks it can switch in. Nope. Earthquake denies that thing a place on the field. And this is even not including being burnt. You can run a Belly Drum set. Try to switch in on something that you know you can take a hit from. And just smack things down. Oh my gosh. So you still have to watch out for losing some of your HP, but You know, Belly Drum, you can destroy so many things. This thing is like a huge tank. The definition of a tank. A huge improvement over Ursaring. Also, I think this thing would be up here. I think this thing is up here. There we go. I think this is a pretty nice tier to encompass these different Hisuian forms and where they would fit kind of competitively now that they're in Scarlet and Violet. I think the ones that are S tier, there's a chance that some of those might actually get banned. Which, you know, you can see Sneasler was already on the radar. Oh, and Ursaluna is on the radar as well. So, yeah. These Pokemon are kind of being sussed out anyway because they're so good. I think this pretty much calls it how it is. Anyway, if you like this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. I will see you in the next Pokemon video.